Hi, Marie Cook here, and I'm in beautiful Fredericksburg, Texas, with one of our featured premier writers, Barbara Haworth. Barbara, thank you so much for letting us
welcome to
come to
Fredericksburg.
Fredericksburg.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about where we are right now.
We are at Perdernales Brewing Company today. Our hosts are going to be the CEO, Lee Hereford, and the brewmaster, Peter McFarlane. Let's go in.
Great.
Hey.
Wendy, welcome. Come on in.
Hi, thank you.
You bet.
Welcome to the brewery.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Peter. I'm
Yep.
Barbara.
Barbara.
This is Marie.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Lee.
Hi, Lee Hereford.
Lee, Marie.
Nice to meet you, Marie.
you.
You bet.
Great.
Well, welcome to Perdernales Brewing Company. We're glad y'all could come out here and be with us today.
We're thrilled to be here. We want to hear all about this artistry in beer making. I have recently become a convert.
Wow.
All right, well, good.
Thought you were such a wine drinker, and yeah,
I
just
was.
converted her.
I
You must
have
a
been
new
converted.
product.
Yes, so I want to hear about their concept and about the brewing process
Okay.
itself.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go to the production area and we'll let Peter give you all a quick tour so you can see what we're doing, and then we'll taste the results and talk about it.
Oh, that
Great.
sounds great.
I'll just tell you a little bit about the brewing process and how we make beer. So one day of brewing is typically for a single batch 8 hours, or maybe for sometimes double batching. One day is about 12 to 14 hours. And beer starts basically as with raw grain, and that's malted barley. Beer is made with four simple ingredients. Water is basically 94-95% of the finished product. You have your barley, your hops, and your yeast. So it all starts with malted barley. Malted barley comes in from a silo outside. We get delivered, and we crack it open, and we mix it with warm water at a very specific volume, and that would be in the mash tun, which would be this first vessel over here. And in there, it's much like you'd have your colander in your kitchen. We mix it with warm water, and we're dissolving the sugars out of the grain and into solution, and that solution is then called wort. And the wort is then separated from the solid grains and pumped over to this kettle, which you see right behind us here. And we bring that wort to a rolling boil, and at that time we add the hops. Now the wort itself is very, very sweet, malty and sweet. And to balance that sweetness, we add hops. You add a lot of hops, you get a very bitter beer. You add just a little bit of hops, you get a very malty beer. You get it right in the middle and get a nice balance. You get a nice balanced beer, and that's why beer is so interesting to most people on their palates, is that balance of malty and bitterness. Making, I guess. Once we get back, a full rolling boil, and it goes maybe for an hour and a half, and then we have to cool it down and move it to one of our fermentation vessels.
Correct.
And that's where we.
And that's where all the magic happens.
That's where all the magic happens. So
Right.
it's not beer yet.
It's not.
It's what's called hop wort. And what we do is we take it through a heat exchanger, which is kind of right behind the kettle here. And it'll take it, the heat exchanger knocks it down from boiling, which is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, down to 50 degrees. And during the transfer to one of our fermenters, which you can see right over here, this is where we then pitch the yeast en route to the fermenter. Once the yeast is pitched or added to the wort, fermentation starts right away.
Well, I did when I saw it, when we came in. I told Lee, I said, what is that? He goes, oh, that's
did
the
you do?
fermentation
Oh, there it
project.
goes.
It has to build up pressure again.
Oh dear.
You're bad. I can already tell that one.
That was the sound of beer making.
That is the sound of beer making.
The sound
And
of
there it
life.
comes.
It is.
It is. So
You're making
actually,
it talk
why
to
me?
you.
There you
Oh,
go.
he's not coming.
Yeah, that's the sound of beer making.
Wow.
And you can smell it.
So Peter, actually
I can
one of the
now.
key secrets to your success here with the flavor of your beer is the fact that you use well water.
Yeah, we have our own well right on property here, so just under the ground we're standing on, and we pump well water, so we have real hill country Texas water, and that's our basis of our beer.
It's a key.
It's key.
That's
We take it
awesome.
and we filter it, and we put it through an RO system, and then we bring it into the brew house for making beer. And the key is getting the most pure, perfect water that we can, and we're we're right in the midst of some of the best water in all of Texas, so we're really lucky to be
Oh,
here.
very fortunate, yeah. And it does make a difference in the flavor.
Well, you have to remember it's 95% of the finished product,
Yep.
so it's a huge, huge component, and you have to get it right.
Right.
So, really? 95% water?
Yeah.
Is that what you tell your wife?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. But does she believe you?
Not so much.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, we used to kid that our beers were barley pops.
Barley
Barley pops, yeah, so you have really good, barley water.
So once it's here,
Yeah, now this is a cylindroconical fermentation vessel. It takes 2 batches of beer to fill up one of these tanks. And as soon as the yeast is in there and all the wort has been pumped in there with the yeast, fermentation starts immediately. And part of fermentation is the yeast eating the simple sugars and giving off 3 things, basically, that makes the alcohol for the beer. And it produces CO2, and it produces quite a bit of CO2, so much CO2 that we have a blow-off tube into a sanitary bucket, and that's the noise that you're hearing and the bubbles that you're seeing. So at a very specific time, we will then cap that tube, and we'll capture the CO2 and pressurize the tank with its own natural carbon dioxide, and that will give the bubbles to your beer.
so that's what makes it the foam?
That makes the foam, that makes the bubbles, so that makes your beer carbonated. So instead of injecting it, we capture it naturally. The third thing that happens during fermentation is quite a bit of heat is produced during the metabolism. Just like you and I, when we go exercising or something, you sweat and you give off a lot of heat.
Right.
Same thing with these fermentations. So the reason that all of these tanks are jacketed, you can see there's big tubes coming down from the ceiling, and there's a propylene glycol jacket for each one of these tanks. Each tank can then actually be its own micro environment. One tank can be actively fermenting at 50 degrees, while other tanks can be under cold storage at 30 degrees.
And what causes the condensation that we can see on the outside of the tank?
These areas that you see it's pulling moisture out of the air, and they're double and triple walled tanks, but then these areas are only single walled. So what you're seeing is ice cold beer.
In the making.
In the making, yeah, basically that's it. Yeah.
Put some of that on your face. It feels pretty good.
Who makes these tanks?
There's many manufacturers across the nation and across the world. So you get tanks for all over the United States. They're made in Canada. They're made in Mexico. There's a lot of tanks like this made out of Germany, England. Almost every country in the world makes tanks.
Makes tanks.
Yeah, but there's good tanks and bad tanks. There's good, just like in your kitchen. There's good cookware and there's mediocre stuff and there's really, really cheap stuff. And you get what you pay for.
The Newlands, those are U.S.
These are all U.S. Yeah.
Oh,
Our
that's awesome. Yeah.
They also have facilities in BC, Canada, and in the U.S. Yeah. So, yep.
So how many tanks do you have total here?
Well, we have
Right
9 fermentation vessels that you can see right here in front of us, and then the one that looks a little bit different at the very end of the row is called a bright beer tank, and that one tank is a specific tank for our finished beer. So
Let's head down.
let's go down and see what happens here.
This is pretty interesting.
It's very interesting, and I think anybody that would listen to this man would instantly get it and instantly be converted to how artistic this endeavor is. It's not just about beer.
There's a lot involved.
There's a lot
there's,
involved.
there's a lot involved, and I think just touching
So,
it perfect.
what is this gauge? What does that mean?
This is a sight glass, basically. It just lets us know the volume of beer that's in the finished beer tank, or what we call a bright beer tank. So this is a finished beer that then goes to packaging. When we get here, we can finish polishing, cleaning, and make sure to do all our taste tests, our laboratory testing, and make sure that it's the right carbonization, and ready to package. So from here, it goes to either kegs or to our bottling line.
Okay.
Now, we touched a minute ago about fermentation and what sort of like an art form, but also there's a lot of very serious chemistry and microbiology going on, and real professional brewers are trained in many different
And
facets.
you are trained in biology.
I'm a master brewer for the last 24 years.
Yes. So he has an extensive background,
Yeah.
not just in brewing, but in biology. So
Well,
he
and-
knows what he's talking about.
Well, and Peter may be the only master brewer in Texas that is a graduate of the Siebel Institute, which is the place. If you're going to be a brewer, you want to graduate from the Siebel Institute.
And how long ago did you graduate?
It was 1989.
So you've been at it for a while.
A little bit. It's kind of a passion,
I
as
can
well
s-
as a work thing, you know. So
Well, I can tell by your enthusiasm in explaining it to people. You don't seem to tire of explaining it to people.
not really, and I don't really ever get tired of drinking it either. One good thing about it is, at the end of the day, you can reap some of your rewards.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you know if the product is ready.
Of course, yeah, and every one of these tanks that we're talking about get tested and tasted every day, both in the lab or on our pallets. And really, you can have the most extensive, most expensive laboratory in the nation, but really you can never get as detailed as your palate. Once your palate becomes trained to look for certain things, it's extremely technical piece of equipment to have around the brewery. It's much like winemakers or anybody else in the food industry.
So people,
Yeah, she tells me she is a big wine person.
Right.
She comes over here, when was it, last week, and
Right.
met and
Right,
everything.
right.
She's like, I gotta tell you, beer's really good. I said, you're such a wine person. And her son used to sell wine.
my
I mean, the whole
son
bit.
has an
Well,
ag degree,
she's
and that's
like,
what he does for a
really-
living.
I sold wine for 21 years. I actually founded the 12th bonded winery in Texas back in
Oh, my
1983.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to get all
Pioneer.
this in there, too.
You know,
That's-
Yeah, cool.
and with beer, until we started this, I'd almost stopped drinking, because most of it just, I either had to spend a fortune on it, or if it was reasonable and affordable, then I didn't want to drink it. And so that was a motivator for me to help start a brewery, so that we can make beer that really tastes good and won't cost you an arm and a leg.
It's
You know.
wonderful beer.
And
I have to say,
that's one of our goals, is to provide Texas beer drinkers with Texas beer that's affordable. Because most of it isn't.
It's very interesting. This is a very interesting.
This is a real nice piece of equipment for a small brewery like us. It's affordable and it's pretty high tech. It's run mainly by pneumatic gates, which means they're air pressurized gates that open and close on timers. And basically what we do with this machine is we can bring in used kegs that people have returned for refill, and it can get put on one side, push a button. I have a sanitizing tank here, and it will evacuate all residual beer, and it'll push out all gases. It'll clean the inside of the keg, and then repressurize it with CO2, eliminating all the oxygen out of the keg, which is very important because oxygen and beer are a bad combo. You get oxidized beer and starts
It
tasting
flattens
not really flattens it, but it makes it taste stale. And the stale flavor in beer tastes or smells just like wet cardboard. If you've ever-
does.
Just like that.
It
So if you
does.
ever pick up a beer and it either smells or tastes like wet cardboard, set it down, return it to the bar or wherever you bought it from, and tell them you'd like a fresh one.
Okay.
All right.
Well, see,
That's
now
cool.
we-
And one of the other things with our beers are all natural. They're not pasteurized. There's no preservatives. They're still living entities. And that's part of the difference in the flavor too.
Which is why you insist on it being cold at all
It
times.
has to stay cold.
Even when you
Absolutely.
deliver it to
Absolutely.
your purveyors or whoever
Our
is,
trucks are refrigerated.
but you also expect them to refrigerate
They have
the
to
product.
stay in their cold room.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it makes such a difference in the taste.
It maintains the integrity of the taste.
Well,
right?
they're not mummified.
Right.
There you
You
go.
know, they're
That's
still
kind of what I was
alive.
thinking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
So, do you deliver these kegs to like restaurants and?
Yes, we have quite a few accounts right now. I think we're up over 200 accounts in just 6 weeks of operations, so we're very, very
Wow.
new.
Very new.
And these
That's
kegs go
amazing.
to your favorite restaurants and bars, and they're also available at liquor stores for people with weddings and,
for
picnics and
for
stuff.
events.
And special events. So anybody in town or in the area that would like a keg or 3 for a special event, they they don't come to us, but they go to your neighborhood liquor store and they can order them right from there.
Can I get one delivered in Rockport next weekend?
Yes.
Awesome. I'm there.
Taking that one down on your Harley. Yeah?
Yeah, I can put that on the back of my motorcycle.
Can you
I'll
keep
have it
it
there.
cold though on the
Wait a
way
minute.
down? It's pretty hot.
Okay, I'm gonna have to work on
Yeah.
that.
Put it in the sidecar. with the
Sidecar with ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So
can get it to
then-
San Antonio.
hood. Oh, really?
We
They're
can get it- we can
distributing
get it
to
to
San
San
Antonio.
Yeah, we can get it
Okay.
to San Antonio. After that, you're on your own.
All right, we'll just have to have the party there.
Well, there you go. There's a great solution.
Yep.
So then, if you want to then purchase a 6-pack,
No, I'll
You
show
have
you
bottling.
our bottling line.
yeah. And you hand bottle and label all of your beers.
Pretty much, it's one step up from what you would do at home, basically. This is a very small bottling line. Once again, it's run mostly by air pressure and pneumatic gates and gauges. And what we do is we put one case or 24 bottles on at a time at that end. They march through, 6 bottles at a time get filled, and then they come down the line here, and we put labels on the bottles. Actually, you know what? I could put a couple bottles in here, and you could see the bottles come
wanna
through
see
and
him
put
do
a
that,
put a label on.
Awesome.
Hey, get ready.
All right, get ready. Here comes your beer.
We're gonna put them in your 6-pack.
And my 6
Make sure they're lined up.
Sir.
That's how we do it.
Oh, Ricky, I don't think I could do this for a full-time job.
You're hired.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
We can do 4 pallets in about 6 hours.
4 pounds, not
And
with
there's, and
me
there's
doing it.
54 cases per pallet.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a really time-consuming and pretty physical workout. Yeah, when you get into your time on the bottling line for a day, you put in a day.
And Lee, don't you use, I mean, everybody that helps you with bottling process, they're all volunteers.
A lot of our crew on the bottling line
Right.
are some of our members that
That's
just
right,
volunteer.
that just love to help
And
with the
they
product.
just come hang out and help do whatever they can do.
That's right,
You know,
and that's an awesome thing.
You
That
know.
keeps it really personal.
Absolutely.
It keeps your concept of the community.
exactly. Well, it was really
Plus-
funny when we put up the silo outside. The 2 guys that did most of the work, both members of ours. One of them is a retired mechanical engineer, and the other one's a retired nuclear physicist. And they're out there with a power drill, putting 10,000 nuts and bolts together to put this silo together.
See,
It
that
was
just,
really
that's what
cool
really
to-
makes
it was
this a
really
great
cool to
product,
have that.
because it's
cool.
all a family.
Absolutely.
It's all a family. It's kept real
Absolutely.
close to your heart, and that's awesome.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Well, are y'all ready to try some beer?
Oh, heck yes.
All right, let's go taste.
You're
Now
gonna,
we're-
you're
now
gonna
we're
be,
talking.
got my logos on. My logo's on already.
You're going to be a convert, I tell you.
Oh.
I have never been a beer drinker until